as a young Christian, what would you say is the easiest part of being a Christian?
The easiest part of being a Christian is probably the going to the church functions. You know, most of the time that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's the easiest part about being a Christian. Every I agree in a way. You know, the fellowship when you come to church or when you get together, that it does make being a Christian feel easier. You know, you get to come together and discuss and talk and encourage one another. So that in a way is easy.
I don't think you can consider any of it as being easy as a young Christian. I guess the part that is the least hard is kind of when you're around people, other Christians like you, that are kind of around the same age or age range as you, that believe in some of the same things that you do. It makes it easier to talk with and connect. But in this generation, in this time, it's very hard to find that, so it's rare.
I agree with Beyonce, listening to what she said, because it's not easy, you know. But when you're able to find like-minded individuals like you, you know, people you can lean on that understand, that does also make it easy.
I have to say that I disagree on that. I mean, some stuff is just. I mean, some stuff that you do as Christians, I mean, you probably would do anyway.
Disagree with what? Exactly?
About that nothing is easy. Some stuff is,
What is
especially to some people.
What's easy?
For example, what's something you like to do? Sleep. Okay, well, say a retreat function by the church or whatever, where you know, you can relax.
When would that end with a retreat where you supposed to relax and sleep? Any church retreat, I would think that y'all are doing activities and doing exercises
Yeah,
and stuff. It's the last thing
we
they
do
want you to do is
activities.
sleep.
We do activities, but you do have time of your own time. You still have your own time.
Okay. I don't think that's the same, you know. I don't think that's a good comparison.
Maybe not, but there is certain stuff that's just not hard to do, and especially for certain people. For example, some people may struggle with drinking or something like that. Well, you don't do that. It's easy to not do that.
But we're talking about, in particular, young Christians, what's easy for them.
I know. I'm talking about young Christians.
You can't even make it to church on time. Like what? Like that should be easy. It should, but it's not.
Like I said, certain things may be easy
I'm trying to.
for
I
certain
need
people.
you to make an example that makes sense.
I just made
That
one.
didn't make sense.
Drinking didn't make sense?
Not to you.
What you mean not to me?
Or,
Anyway,
we were talking about things that are hard for you, and I'm trying.
right, and y'all, no, the question was about things that were easy, and y'all
repeat
said
the
nothing
question?
was easy.
Because being a Christian is not easy.
What is the easiest part of being Christian or Christianity for you?
Let's see. For example, somebody may have a problem with, for example, you talked about being on time. We may struggle being on time, but for other people, that may not even be an issue.
What people our age?
Yeah, but
Who our age?
the question is about you.
Yeah, us personally. Like I said, I mean, I already said the easiest thing is just going to church.
You think so? You think so?
And I think Donisha, she raises a good question. Based on what she said about being on time. Is it really easy?
It is not. Like Beyonce likes to sleep. We like it's a like
Is it not for
getting
y'all?
up early.
And I never said going on time. I just said going.
Oh, okay, my
Well,
bad.
that's part of. I
My
mean,
bad.
so well, maybe we should define then, or look at then what it means or what's affected then if since you disagreed with the idea that none of it is really easy, there's some that's just less difficult. Then just what does how would you then rate just showing up at some point over against the benefit of being there when things began to get the full effect?
Yeah, like I don't like being late
Yeah.
to anything. I don't like to. I feel like if I'm gonna be late, I'd rather just not show up at all. Like in college, if I was more than like 20 minutes late to class, I'd rather just not go. So, I mean, I like praise and worship and starting at the beginning and then going through the sermon and everything like that, experiencing church. I mean, it may be hard for me to get there, but I feel like if I make it in the middle of the sermon, or like the experience is not there, the effect of going to church or the point of going to church is just like, why are you even there? You gonna get your little 2 seconds and get 2 pieces of the sermon and leave? Like,
Like I said,
of course, according to David, if we eating afterwards, it's easy for you.
Anyway.
I'm gonna go because it's food there.
Now, like I said, obviously there are benefits to being there on time and getting everything, but like I said, it's still, even if I'm late, it's still like nothing to me. Just get up and go.
So why not get up and go early? You know what I'm
Like I said, getting up and going on time and getting up and going are 2 different things.
So it's still hard for you to go to church.
No.
It is.
That's
No.
basically
It's
what you
about how long it takes for you to get out.
If it's so, this is the question, that if it's hard for you to be on time, then doesn't that mean, in general, that it's hard for you to go to church?
No.
I think so.
Because the being on time then is not part of what you consider when you talk about going to church or when you plan to go to church.
You should.
For instance, at our church, which our Bible study begins at 9:30. So, do you plan to be there at 9:30?
I plan to be there about 30 minutes after I wake up.
Do you plan to be there at 9:30?
I'd have to say no.
Okay, so then you're not really planning to get the full effect of going to church or Bible study. It's just easy for you to go anyway, is what you're saying. And what they're saying is that it can't be easy for you because you're not making it at the scheduled times. Apparently you're struggling for whatever reason to make it at the time it's scheduled to be able to get everything that you're supposed. You do agree that everything that's done is supposed to be for your benefit. Is that yes or no?
I agree.
Okay. So why wouldn't you plan to try to get everything that's for your benefit?
Just, I guess, focus on all the stuff that I have going on and scheduling or whatever. But, you know, I just, like I said, plan on getting up when I get up, and then I go. And that's easy to do.
Oh, well, yeah, that's easy to do because you ain't doing nothing.
What you guys do?
So I agree with that. That's easy to do if you decide that whenever I get up, I'm gonna go. That is easy. That is easy.
It's not what you're supposed to do.
But so I guess then like so I guess then the question and if I don't want to say that's okay because it's not. If that's how you look at something that's supposed to be so valuable to you as a Christian, that your mindset is whenever I wake up, I'll go. That seems like something is wrong with that. And so that's and so I guess I'll put that in the form of a question. Is there something wrong with that? Would it be something wrong with that if instead of talking about church, that was your job? Would it be something wrong with that mindset that I go whenever I wake up?
It depends on the job. Now, I guess
I said your job, the job you work on. Would it be something wrong with that?
Yeah.
So why do you, or so then how do you adjust to that? How do you make sure that you don't do anything, that you don't do that towards your job?
I'll try to take jobs that's scheduled after I wake up.
Okay. Have you ever had jobs that you had to be there at times when you don't?
Yes.
And how did you adjust to those?
I was late.
Yeah, but how did you adjust to it?
What you mean?
I mean, so you still just slept till whenever and got up and went?
No. Set a few alarms and tried to get up like it's good.
Okay.
I was late a lot.
So why wouldn't you do that for church?
I do.
Okay. And sometimes it doesn't work for you?
Late a lot.
Sound like then it's hard for you. If you have a plan to be there at a certain time, but you continue to, or there are a lot of times when you're unable to fulfill that plan, then sounds like there's some difficulty. Maybe that's a better word than hard. Sound like there's some difficulty then carrying out the plan.
I don't know. I guess I don't consider that as being difficult or
I
whatever.
don't know why. I really don't know why you don't understand what I'm talking about.
Like I said,
So
I
why don't
understand
you
what
do
you're
it?
talking about.
If it's not difficult, why don't you do it?
Like I said, because the plan is to go when I get up.
Yeah, that's not what you said. You said alarms.
I do. I mean, I try to get up on time, but if I don't, I go when I get up.
But the question is about the plan. So the plan is not to be on time? That seems simple to me. If I set alarm to get up, that means I'm trying to be somewhere at a certain time. At least to get up at a certain time.
Right.
And according to your logic, you try to go 30 minutes after you get up. So you set an alarm. You set an alarm for a certain time so you can be there 30 minutes or be there 40, whatever. So you set an alarm so you can be on time. Is that right? Okay. But if you don't wake up from the alarm, apparently that doesn't matter to you. But the point is, then, if you don't wake up and you're not able to fulfill the original plan, then that means that was difficult that day, which is what the young ladies are trying to point out, that it is something that is apparently difficult for you because you're not able to fulfill the plan that you have of being on time. And I think that's what, or at least is that what y'all was trying to say?
Yes.
Yeah. And for some reason you, I guess, it seems like what you're saying is, you're really not concerned about being on time. That's why it's not, you don't consider it as difficult. Okay. And and then Darnisha said she doesn't like being late. And I guess my question for you is, what are you doing to keep from being late?
I haven't gotten there yet.
So I don't even so you talk about college. Even when you're in college, what would you do anything to keep from being late?
I guess like on certain days I like when I have like consecutive classes instead of just like one class or whatever, and I can just go to all of those classes that I have, but and just wake up and do my best to be on time.
Okay.
Go to bed early.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, on those, you still even have a little more say so in the time.
Yeah, but I mean, still, the question is the plan. What the plan is in your mind. So I mean, even if you have some grace, and then of course, there are some classes where some professors won't lock you out at a certain time. But what is the original plan? If you have a 8 o'clock class, are you planning to be there at 8 o'clock? And if you're planning to be there at 8 o'clock but can't ever get there at 8 o'clock, then that means there's some difficulty. And so that's what happens if you take the attitude, or continuously take the attitude, well, I get there when I want to, or get there when I can. Eventually, for most of us, we're not going to be successful in that. Right? Would you agree?
I really
I
want to
guess I'd
say what
agree
I
for
want to
most
say.
people.
Yeah. And same is true, especially when it comes to spiritual matters. That if your attitude is nonchalant That is, it'll happen. If it happens, it'll happen. You're not gonna be successful. I don't know anyone that I know of. And of course, if you do, let me know. I'd love to talk to them. That I know of who has a nonchalant attitude about spiritual matters, who is successful spiritually. It goes against everything the Bible teaches. That idea and that mindset. And so I think sometimes, do you think that that you may have, or that we may have, well, we're talking to you, and I'm talking to all three of you. Do you think that there may be some self-deception as to what's important or what should be important when it comes to spiritual matters or Christianity, since that was part of the original question? You think there is some self-deception about what's important to you? Yes, when it comes to Christianity. 'Cause now I'm a lot older, and so I think a lot different, and was maybe taught different, socially, societal wise. And so, if in my mind, when somebody says they don't like to be late, for instance, we'll take Darnisha for example, what she said, that she doesn't like to be late. In my mind, that means they do everything not to be late. They do anything in their power not to be late. In my mind. And so I don't, according to what you said a while ago, that's not how you think about it, which is okay. But my question is, so is that really a true statement that you don't like to be late, or is it a self-deception? You're telling yourself you don't like to be late, but it's really not a big deal. And like I said, that's just an example. And same thing for even what David said. Is it really easy to go to church? Or are you deceiving yourself because you have these difficulties getting there when you really want to get there, and so you have convinced yourself that that's okay as long as I go? So what do you think?
I don't know. If that's self-deception, as far as what I was talking about.
I think in order for there to be self-deception, like there has to be a certain way that Christians have to do things. One certain way that Christians have to do things. And because times have changed so many times, or so much, and the church has changed so much, and honestly, Christianity has changed a lot, or the way that people believe or what they believe, then I don't know if it's self-deception or if I'm deceived, or if y'all are being deceived, I don't know if it's technically me being deceived. What if it's just y'all with your thoughts and your mindsets that's not agreeing with mine?
Spoken like a true college student.
I definitely disagree.
And which is great, which means that there's some thinking, and but And I did hear what you said about the changing, and it may have, but the Bible hasn't, and those principles will never change.
So why
And
do we
so the
follow
question
everything we
is,
follow?
well, the question is then, so can you can you live out those principles and receive those things in Scripture that are promised to you with the attitude and the actions that they produce? So with the attitude of I'll get there when I want to get there, can you live out by doing that, can you live out what the Bible says you ought to be doing as a Christian and receive what you want to receive as a Christian?
You know what you want
I
to
don't think
receive
so.
as a Christian.
I don't think so.
I don't know what David was trying to receive as a Christian coming late every Sunday, for example. But depending on, like, cause he comes before the sermon at least, so maybe that's what he was trying to receive as a Christian, and not all the praise and worship and Bible study. So depending on what you want to receive as a Christian, yeah.
Maybe not everything, but you can get a good chunk, I can say, from experience.
That's a good example of self-deception. That's what I mean. Because for him to say you could get a good, because first of all, at least the way it's designed in many churches is that there is a progression. That first of all, progression to worship, which then, if you're not involved in the beginning, you're less likely to get through the progression that leads you to where you ought to be trying. Like you said, though, I agree with you. Some people are not trying to worship God. They may just be trying to hear a sermon to make them happy. But let me ask you this: how many times have you been to church where it wasn't the sermon that blessed you that day or blessed your life, but it was something that happened prior to that? It was something that happened in the Bible study. Said in the Bible study. It was something that happened during the praise and worship or the singing of the song. How many times did that bless you? Or has it ever?
Like I said, maybe something in the Bible study, but I can't recall times praise and worship.
Anybody else? That was for everybody.
I feel like that has happened for me. You know, like different parts of the worship have or service or whatever have touched me besides the sermon. Yes, I feel like
And Beyonce. Huh? Speak up.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.